So I'm going to start off with something that is going to sound like it's super gossipy, and I definitely read it the first time for all of the gossipy parts of it. But there was a big article that dropped in The Atlantic this week called "The Elite University Presidents Who Despise Each Other." If you could get any closer to higher ed clickbait, my friends.
If you could get any closer to higher education junior high.
Yes, in many ways. What I think is really important about this piece, and it appears sort of toward the bottom of it, this piece sort of talks about a conversation that happened at a meeting of the Association of American Universities, which are the top 71 research institutions in the country and Canada. And it really puts a spotlight on the conflict within higher education, which I think is going to get bigger this year and is going to try and force institutions to pick sides more as we go through the coming academic year. But it's sort of balancing the resistance, quote unquote, led by institutions like Princeton and Wesleyan versus the reformists, which the article's author says is led by or represented by institutions like Vanderbilt and Washington University in St. Louis, and which one is going to sort of win out. Ted Mitchell from the American Council on Education had a great quote where he said they're both right, but the resistance this article indicates seems to think that once Trump is no longer in office, higher ed's going to be in a better place, that this is a very particular time-bound set of circumstances that will cease to exist on January 20th in just a couple of years, and we just need to sit tight and fight back. And the reformists are saying these issues in higher education were present before Trump was reelected, were present before Trump was elected the first time. And unless higher education takes seriously the valid critiques and moves to address those, we're going to continue to see plummeting trust in higher education, plummeting perception of our value, and plummeting perception of whether or not college is a good thing for people, the country, society as a whole. So it's a really interesting article. I give Rick Seltzer credit for putting it in front of my eyes yesterday. Tressa, I know you read it. What were you thinking?
So Rick also shared it with me, and I also got it from a couple of other reporters and colleagues. And I think I'm going to go back a couple of clicks as well. The session that this article comes from was a president's only session. So one of the things that I want to note is that there is a betrayal of trust among presidents that this landed in the lap of a reporter. I just want to make sure that we're talking about that. So not only do we have at least two opinions of the future of higher education, we have a lack of trust among leaders of what used to be a safe space to have these kind of conversations.
Yes.
And the article talks about the fact that there was a panel where leaders kind of started to take on each other in what used to be a space that was allowed, right? You could have differences of opinion. And then this space where that could happen was shared elsewhere. I'm going to start there because I think that is a bigger conversation for us to have, because it's not just that we have two opinions about the future of higher education. We also have a new set of standards and of ways in which we participate with each other, in addition to how we think about the industry. I'm actually more worried about the former than the latter, because if we aren't even on the same page about how we can operate as colleagues, then I'm that much more concerned about how we're going to work together as we try to muddle through these two different approaches. I think it's fascinating. Ted Mitchell, who we had on the podcast, and I'm so grateful that he joined us, talked about the muddy middle of institutions in higher education. And I was kind of struck by that, because that we're going to start separating out different types and spheres of institutions also feels like we're starting to create haves and have-nots. And that makes me very nervous at a time when I think, and I know I'm an optimist and many times a Pollyanna, when I think we should be coming together. So all of the different stratifications that we're talking about and a time and a place where we can't trust each other makes me that much more nervous for the next 3.5 years, because we're only 6 months into this administration.
Yeah. It used to be the golden rule in higher education that you never publicly criticized colleague institutions, colleague leaders.
Correct. I still abide by that rule as much as I can.
And I am really surprised that Ted Mitchell commented for that piece because
I'm surprised it got leaked, and I'm surprised that there was a comment, both.
yeah, because there have always been haves and have-nots in higher ed, and for the association community, at least, it used to be that we would be very, very careful to make sure that we were representing both the haves and the have-nots and making sure that the association community could serve as a point of convening and of collegiality, and this just felt very, very different. I don't think anyone would accuse me of being a Pollyanna, but I'm not surprised these kinds of schisms happen. It's the fact that they are public and that they are being leaked. It's
We
just feels so different from 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
we are not only as an industry showing our slip, to use
Mhm.
a phrase that my grandmother would have used, but we are also as individual leaders showing our fear. And both of those tell others that we're vulnerable. And I'm sorry, but this is a time where, as an industry, we need to come together and be strong, or we will continue to be picked off, which means that this pedagogical disagreement about what is the future of higher education is just going to be nothing more than navel gazing, and more institutions will be picked off.